course, is Gegard Mousasi back here in the program. He's in his hometown in Holland right now. Not quite yet in for UFC 200, taking his time, wants to stay away from the heat in Vegas, which is smart. You don't cut a lot of weight, so you don't have to worry about being in the heat for the weight cut, right?
Oh, well, at this time I'm a little bit lighter, so I need to, I think, 10 pounds. So, so 10 shouldn't be a problem. And here I'm already sleeping late, so once I get to LA, I will be adjusted at the jet lag. So I'm good to go.
You said your weight's lighter this time. Why is it lighter as opposed to the other fights?
Well, I've been training for a long time, so I'm a little bit more strict on my diet, and also with you can't have the IV, so it's easier to rehydrate, and so I think it's better.
Yeah, I was when I was competing, I was completely against the IV ban. I was completely against trying to change weight classes and doing all that. But now that I'm out of it and looking at it for long term and looking at my friends, they're still competing and going, yeah, it's a lot better. The IV ban, the weight, checking dehydration, that is much better now for the sport. But it kind of leans towards the European fighters because European fighters tend to fight closer to their weight all the time anyway. And you never really cut a lot of weight to fight. You did cut, maybe 10, maybe 15, 15, 18 pounds, but it was never like a 25-pound cut like a Johnny Hendricks trying to get down to 170. Do you feel like this is a huge advantage for you personally?
Yeah, well, it depends, If you don't cut the weight good, it's going to work against you. But obviously, you want to keep the sport fair and don't give the other guy advantage because of the weight cut and the IV and not like, let's say, medical advantage. Let's say some people don't have that, those doctors or the knowledge how to do that. So I think it's more fair.
It actually brings into the champs actually can afford better doctors and better medicine. So as a result, they tend to stay the champs because they've got the extra reach. Where the guys in the bottom half, even the bottom quarter, definitely can't touch it. Now though, it's a lot more regulated. I mean, we saw guys like Tim Means, who's now coming back at UFC 202, got banned for a supplement. He got popped for something he bought over the counter. So even things are changing tremendously now within the sport. How do you think any of this, if it will affect or not, Thiago Santos, your opponent?
Well, he's a muscular guy. And he looks big. I don't know how he's gonna look coming fight day because he's coming on short notice for 3 weeks before the fight. So I don't know, but he will be in shape because he wanted the fight. So obviously he's gonna be in shape, and it doesn't hurt to get some rest. You have some Olympic guys that coming off an injury and then went to Olympics and they won simply because they didn't overtrain. So it doesn't say anything. I expect him to be ready, and he took the fight. He wanted the fight, so for me, the weight cut won't be an issue, and I'm faster. I feel like I have a lot of advantage over him.
You also have a slight reach advantage over him, too. I think about a half inch, if I remember correctly. But also,
he's taller than me, I think.
Well, see, everybody. See, that's my next question, because I have it recorded as he's only 6 foot, and I have you at 6'1". But I've seen other reports where he's like 6'1" or 6'2". So it's a question of what is he really in height? When he comes in, do you actually know what his real height is?
I think he's a little bit higher than me. Let's say I'm 185. I don't know how in U.S. terms. 185. He's probably 188.
Okay, so we're talking about like and forgive me, my math is wrong. It's like 6'1" and 6'1.5". So you guys are relatively close.
Something like
to being okay. So it's going to be on your feet at least. It's going to be the same as far as striking distance and the ability to either be inside or outside because you guys are the same length. How do you see you guys matching up striking wise?
Well, I feel like I have better hands than him. He kicks a lot. He's good at switching legs, and then he switches, and then he kicks a lot. But he kicks against guys that are, well, not so good on the stand-up. So once they get kicked on the leg, and then he comes up, he goes to the body, and then he comes up with the high kick. For me, I think if I keep the distance and block the kicks, it's going to be difficult for him to do what he wants to do. So I have a good game plan. It's going to be a fight. He comes to fight, so it's not going to be easy fight. And I think it's going to be a tough fight for me. But I'm very confident I can get the job done.
Are there any easy fights left for you? I mean, really, if you look at where you are placed in the weight class and how the weight class is developing, there's no real easy fight left for anybody in the upper echelon.
No, but this guy is not well known. But let's say he could beat top 5 guys, let's say. But just because he's not known, people don't see him as being very dangerous. Let's say, as if you take Fito Belfort, I would say he would be able to beat Fito Belfort maybe, but just because he's not so known, it's dangerous, high risk, but still dangerous. So these fights don't make sense for me. But at the end of the day, I need to get wins. So I take whoever they give me.
It was a short notice 3-week fight. Why were there a bunch of opponents thrown at you for this particular fight, or were you like, nope, this is the first guy, this is the only guy, and that's the one I'm taking?
Well, they gave me Thiago Santos, and I said yes. And I never said no to an opponent. Whoever they gave me, I took the fight. So for me, it doesn't matter. I adjusted myself in these 2-3 weeks. I know exactly how to fight him. I studied his tape. I'm already in shape. I know. I train for wrestling. I train for jiu-jitsu. I train stand-up. So it doesn't matter. It's just adjusting to your opponent. For me, it's not a big deal. Some people need a whole training camp to adjust to opponent, but I can easily adapt to them.
And obviously, if this goes to the ground, I think you guys are pretty evenly matched. But we've seen a lot more grappling out of you lately in your ground game, and it's been you've really been working on it, really trying to get your jiu-jitsu and your MMA jiu-jitsu really honed in tightly. Did you have to adjust any of that as well in the last 2 or 3 weeks?
Well, obviously I was training for a wrestler, and now this is a guy I can take down, and he will go also for the takedown, because I've seen him go for the takedowns when he's behind on points to score on the judges' scorecard. So he's a smart guy. He just doesn't come to bang. He's a well-rounded now. His takedowns are not so great, of course, but he goes for it, and he knows what he does. He distance kicks a lot, and he's a tough opponent, I believe. But I think my stand-up is so much better, and it will overcome, and it will feign over the time.
That's Gegard Mousasi getting ready to face battle against Thiago Santos coming up here on the card of the century, really. UFC 200. It's going to be an amazing card, and it's actually the last fight card of a three fight night. There's actually fights July 7th, July 8th, and then of course your fight on July 9th. It's going to be a great weekend. Anybody that's going to be there is going to enjoy every single one. I have friends coming in and going to all 3 fights, all fight nights, just because it's their family vacation. They're taking everybody out there, and that's what they're doing. So, do you feel like this card is the best card the UFC's ever put on?
Yeah, if you look at the competition and how evenly matched the fights are, like even Brock Lesnar, Mark Hunt, it's like still 50-50. Can Brock get the takedown? Can Mark Hunt keep it stand up? So all of the fights are very evenly matched. So that's why it's very good card, let's say. Yeah, and big names. Yeah. Big names, also a lot of big names there. Yeah.
Huge names, of course, with Daniel Cormier and John Jones being the main event. Gegard, thanks so much for spending some time with us. I know it's late. Hopefully you got to stay up for a couple more hours, though, don't you, before you can lay down?
Yeah, I'm still up, so no problem.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gegard. Have a great rest of your training camp. Enjoy Vegas next week, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Frank.